There's something I never said to my son, something I've been carrying for years, waiting for the right moment, and maybe that moment never comes. So I'll say it here. If one day he hears this, I want him to know not the legend, not the number 7, not the trophies or the headlines. I want him to know the man behind all of it, his father. The one who made mistakes, who chased perfection so hard that sometimes he forgot to be human. People think I was born confident. They see the muscles, the smile, the goals, and they think I never doubt myself. But when I look at my son, I see the same questions in his eyes that I once had in mine. Am I good enough? Will I ever be like him? And that's what scares me. Because I know that voice can build you or it can destroy you. When I was a boy in Madeira, I used to sleep in a small room with my siblings. No air conditioning, no noise, just the sound of wind hitting the window. Sometimes I'd wake up hungry, other times I'd wake up dreaming that one day I'd see my mother smile without worry. That was my first goal, not fame, not money, just to make her smile. People remember the celebrations, but they don't remember the nights I cried in silence. I cried because I missed home. I cried because I was scared I'd fail. I cried because I didn't want to go back empty-handed. That's what most people don't understand about me. I wasn't chasing glory. I was running from fear. When I first became a father, I thought I knew everything. I thought success would automatically make me a good dad. It doesn't. No amount of trophies teaches you how to explain pain to a child. No number of goals teaches you how to slow down and listen. There were days I came home after a match, exhausted, angry, lost in my own head, and my son would run toward me with open arms. And sometimes I barely noticed, because my mind was still in the game, still chasing something invisible. I tell myself it's all for him, the work, the sacrifice, the obsession. But sometimes I wonder if I was trying to prove something to myself. When you live a life like mine, the world never stops watching. They judge how you walk, how you talk, how you breathe. Every mistake becomes a headline, every emotion becomes a meme. And that's dangerous because after a while you start performing your life instead of living it. I used to think that being strong meant never showing weakness. Now I know the real strength is being honest about your fears, because that's the part that connects you to people and is the part I want my son to understand most. There's a picture of us, me and him on the training pitch. He's holding the ball, smiling, looking at me like I'm some kind of superhero. And in that moment, I felt something I'd never felt before, not even after winning the Champions League. It was pride mixed with fear. Because when your child looks at you like that, you start to realize how heavy that reflection can be. He doesn't just see his father. He sees an image the world built, and one day he'll have to carry it. And I know what that feels like, to carry expectations so heavy they bend your soul. To wake up every day and know that millions expect perfection, not effort, not progress, but perfection. There's something cruel about fame. It feeds you until you believe you're invincible, and then it starves you of peace. I've had nights when the whole world was cheering my name, but inside I felt completely alone. I've scored goals that made stadiums explode, and yet some of my happiest moments were silent ones, like hearing my son laugh in the backseat or seeing him fall asleep with his hand holding mine. Those are the goals that never make the highlight reel, but they mean more than all the trophies combined. If you're listening to this, son, I want you to understand something. Discipline will take you far. Talent will open doors. But love will keep you standing when everything else breaks. The world will try to define you by numbers, by stats, by money. Don't let it. Because when the applause fades, the only thing that remains is who you are when no one's watching. I remember one night after a loss, a bad loss, I came home furious. Didn't speak to anyone, didn't eat, just sat in the dark, replaying every mistake in my head. And then he walked into the room, small, quiet, innocent. He looked at me and said, "Daddy, why you sad? You're still the best." I smiled, but inside I broke. Because I realized he didn't care about the scoreboard. He just wanted his father. That night, I promised myself something. I'll never let my son inherit my pressure. He can inherit my work ethic, my passion, but not my fear. Never my fear. When people ask me what I want my legacy to be, they expect me to say the greatest of all time. But that's not it anymore. Greatness is fragile. Records are temporary. Even statues crumble. What lasts is what you teach. I want my legacy to be in how my son treats people, how he faces failure, how he carries himself when no one's cheering. Because the truth is I built my life on proving myself, but he doesn't need to. You just need to live with heart. There's one lesson I learned too late. Success doesn't fix loneliness. It only makes it quieter. You can buy houses, cars, watches, but not peace. And peace comes when you forgive yourself for not being perfect. When I was younger, I hated losing more than I loved winning. That's what made me who I am, but it also made me blind to small joys, blind to moments that didn't fit in a highlight reel, and I don't want that for him. There's a side of me the cameras never saw. The boy who missed birthdays, who trained on Christmas, who cried after hearing his mother was sick but didn't fly home because the game was too important. People think I'm made of stone. I'm not. Every sacrifice has a cost. And the older you get, the more you start counting them. I lost time with family, with friends, with moments that won't come back, but I gained perspective. I learned that true success isn't about what you achieve, it's about what you protect while you're achieving it. There was a moment, and I'll never forget this, when I saw him trying to imitate my free kick routine. The stance, the deep breath, the strike, everyone around was laughing, but I couldn't. Because for the first time, I saw myself through his eyes, and I didn't know if I liked that version. That version was obsessed, ruthless, a man who measured his worth by how loud the crowd screamed his name. I don't want him to grow up like that. I want him to play because he loves the game, not because he fears being forgotten. If you're hearing this, my son, remember this truth. The world will never love you unconditionally. It loves you for what you give, not who you are. So don't chase love from strangers. Earn respect from yourself. There's a moment in every life when you realize that applause fades faster than silence. That's when you'll need to decide what matters most. And I hope when that day comes, you'll choose peace over perfection. Because I didn't. Not at first. And it cost me years. I can get back. I remember one night after a match, we had won, I had scored, the crowd was chanting my name. I came home late, exhausted but happy. My son was asleep on the couch, still in his little training kit. He had waited for me but couldn't keep his eyes open. I just stood there looking at him, thinking, is this what it's all for? The goals, the trophies, the fame, they feel incredible in the moment, but they fade. The applause stops. The medals go into boxes. But that image, my son asleep, waiting for his father, that doesn't fade, that's the moment that stays with me. And that's when something inside me changed. For years, I thought success was measured in records. Now I realize it's measured in moments like that, the quiet ones, when no one's watching. People think pressure is something you feel before a penalty or in a final, but that's not the real pressure.
The real pressure is being a father and wondering if you're teaching your son the right things. Wondering if you'll grow up strong enough to face a world that only celebrates perfection.
Because I know what that world feels like is the same one that cheered me when I scored and tore me apart when I missed. And I don't want him to learn his value from applause. I want him to understand that success without character is empty. I want him to know that discipline means saying no to things, even when no one would blame you for saying yes. And I want him to see that the greatest victories aren't the ones people post about. They're the ones you win in silence when you're tired, broken, and still show up. When I was younger, I thought love was weakness. I thought showing emotion meant losing control. But when I became a father, I learned that love is not weakness, it's fuel, is what gets you out of bed when you don't want to train, is what keeps you standing when life hits harder than any defender ever could. And that's something I never want my son to forget. Because one day, the cameras will go away. One day, the world will move on to someone new. And when that day comes, all that's left is the kind of man you've become. I tell him this all the time. Don't be me, be better than me. Not faster, not stronger, not richer, better as a person. Because I made a mistake. I chased perfection so hard that I forgot to rest. I built walls around me to protect myself from pain, but sometimes those walls also kept love out. And I don't want him to inherit that part of me. If I could go back, I tell my younger self something simple: don't lose your humanity while chasing greatness. Because the world will remember your trophies, but your family will remember your tone when you spoke to them after losing. Sometimes I think about how he'll remember me, not the footballer, the father. Will he remember the man who taught him how to shoot a ball? Or the man who was too tired to listen after training? Will he remember my victories or my silences? That thought terrifies me, because I've lived a life where millions know my name, but only few know my heart. And maybe that's the price of greatness, but is also the reason I'm talking now, because I don't want him to grow up chasing applause instead of peace. You see, fame is strange. It gives you everything: attention, luxury, power, but it also takes something away quietly. It takes your right to make mistakes. It takes your right to be human. I've seen it destroy people. I've seen talented men lose themselves trying to keep everyone happy. That's why I tell him, don't let the noise decide who you are. The world will cheer for you when you rise and laugh when you fall, but none of that matters if you know who you are in silence. I'm not perfect. I've been arrogant. I've been stubborn. I've hurt people without meaning to. But I've also learned that admitting you were wrong doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. Because the truth is, the world will forgive your mistakes long before it forgives your success. And that's why humility is the most powerful armor you'll ever wear. It's what keeps your feet on the ground when your name is in the sky. And one day, when the noise fades, is the only thing that keeps your soul intact. There was a time I thought my purpose was to prove everyone wrong. Now I realize my purpose is to prove one person right, my son. To prove that his father didn't just play football, he lived with purpose. He fought for his dreams. He tried to be a good man. When I look at him, I see everything I never had as a child: safety, comfort, love. And sometimes that scares me, because I know comfort can make you forget hunger. I grew up fighting for every inch. He's growing up in a world where the ground is already soft. So my challenge as a father isn't to give him more, is to teach him to fight for what he has. There's a story I've never told publicly. One night, after losing a major final, I sat alone in the locker room long after everyone had left. I felt like the world had ended. But then I got a message, a simple video of my son laughing while trying to juggle a ball in the living room. And in that moment, something broke inside me in the best way, because I realized he didn't care if I lost. He didn't care about the trophy. He just cared that I came home. That's when I understood I'm not just playing for fans anymore. I'm playing for him. So, to my son, if you ever see this one day, I want you to know that greatness isn't about what you achieve, it's about what you give. It's not about how the world sees you, but about how you see yourself when the lights go out. You will have your own battles, your own heartbreaks, your own moments of doubt. And when those days come, remember this: pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Show up again and again, no matter how hard it gets. Sometimes I imagine the future, him as a grown man, looking back at old clips of me. Maybe he'll see the goals, the celebrations, the headlines. But I hope he looks deeper. I hope he sees the sacrifices, the lonely nights, the doubts, the lessons behind the fame. Because if he understands that, then maybe he'll understand me. And maybe he'll know that all of this, every drop of sweat, every tear, every scar, wasn't for the records, it was for him. People ask me if I'm afraid of the day I can't play anymore. I used to say yes. Now I say no. Because when football ends, fatherhood continues. And that to me is the greatest title I'll ever have. I want my son to remember me not just as a player, but as a man who kept showing up even when the world tried to break him. As a man who made mistakes, but never stopped trying to be better. As a man who gave everything not for applause, but for love. Maybe one day you'll understand that the hardest battles are the ones no one sees, that the greatest wins are the ones inside you. And that sometimes being strong means admitting you're scared, but doing it anyway. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. And legacy isn't built on trophies, it's built on the lives you touch, starting with your own family. So, to my son, if you ever wonder what made your father who he is, it wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was love. Love for the game, love for the fight, love for you. That's my message to you. Not from a legend, not from an icon, from a man still learning, still growing, still trying to be the kind of father you deserve. And if I could leave you with one truth, is this: the world will forget your scores, but it will never forget your spirit. So protect that always.